not just that, many things. Like we talking about hip hop. If it wasn't for hip hop, I would also be in the same predicament. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause
Do you have mixed feelings about Louis Farrakhan, or is it all straight positive?
No, all positive.
What about his potential role in the death of Malcolm X?
Well, he already spoke on that.
What did he say?
He said, okay. What you have to realize is that during the time of, okay, first of all, if I we got to look at this. See, and I'm glad you asked me this because people never address this shit the real way. Like, if we walk up the street right now and we grab any random stranger on the street and we say, "Who killed John F. Kennedy?" Most people will say, most people will put on the person, "Oh yeah, well, Lee Harvey Oswald," but ultimately they'll say, "Yeah, but the government." Some people agree that the government did it. If you say, "Who killed Martin Luther King?" They'll agree that the government. Who killed all of these leaders at these different time periods of controversial figures, they say the government did. If you walk up on the street and you ask the average person who killed Malcolm X, they're going to say the Nation of Islam. So why is it in a time period where the government is known to be killing off these people that's shaking up things in modern society and changing the views and doing things, that people associate Malcolm X's murder with the Nation of Islam as opposed to the United States?
Can I respond?
I want you to respond, but this is my response to your question.
Okay, so keep going.
Okay, yeah.
I had a response to that individual question.
Okay,
you just posed.
go ahead. Number one, the Spike Lee movie Malcolm X played a big part in it.
I'm sure.
Because prior to that time, people were, okay, you got to remember, Malcolm X wasn't an American hero. Malcolm X was out there, the white man is the devil, the wicked beast, such and such, so forth and so on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was teaching against, we practice nonviolence with those who practice nonviolence against us. We want to separate such and such and such, right? And then you have a small period of his life, a few months, where he started saying things that were outside of that umbrella that he had been speaking before, right? And which is around the time period that he got killed, that he was assassinated by the United States government, like they was assassinating everybody at that time period. Okay, but Malcolm X wasn't a honored person in America. It wasn't like Martin Luther King. He wasn't romanticized. He wasn't on a stamp. It wasn't until 1995, around the time of the Million Man March, which was a huge event that they've erased from the minds of the people. It's the largest gathering in American history and one of the largest gatherings in the world history. You know what I'm saying? The Million Man March, which was over 2 million black people that showed up in Washington, D.C., men, predominantly men. You know what I'm saying? It was all other kind of people there too. Men, women, children, but predominantly men, okay? Where one man had called this, and it was a time period when the media was really on the attack of Minister Farrakhan with he's an anti-Semite, you know what I'm saying? And Minister Farrakhan has used language in his speeches in public and in private that he himself has apologized for using certain languages. He doesn't apologize for the truth of what he's speaking, but a lot of times, just like right now, if we start talking about the Saints, then if we start talking about the Saints right now, we start talking about Peyton Manning, I might get into it. Man, fuck Peyton Manning. But the truth now, but that doesn't take away from the statistics of what Peyton Manning is doing. Anyway, but around the time of 1995, the Million Man March, it was a big thing. You got to think in music, what was big at that time? It was Wu. It was even if it was Mobb Deep and they was talking about killing and guns, it still was heavily laced with 5%er ideologies and language. So you had a large movement of this. You coming into the Erykah Badu's and it was that time period.
It was an awakening for a lot of people.
It was for a lot of people, and it was cross. It wasn't just a black thing. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop expanded it, and it was a universal thing. So at that time period, you had a huge media attack on Minister Farrakhan. And if you think about it, Spike Lee, that movie that Spike Lee did, Malcolm X, before that, he had done all indie, low-budget movies. He had got a large quantity of money to do that music. Hollywood was heavily involved. They made sure that they portrayed Malcolm X in a certain light, and they made sure that they portrayed the nation's involvement in his death in a certain light, where they almost removed the CIA's and the government's hand in it all. Now, at the time period when Malcolm X was being threatened and he was going to be, every minister in the Nation of Islam was speaking out bad against Malcolm X. Like, he's a hypocrite.
And Malcolm said, that's who he feared.
Yeah. And he, but that's not the only thing that he said he feared. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So, but. Of course he feared it because he knew what that meant to somebody that's in the Nation of Islam. So, it's almost like, okay, see, here's another thing. And there's somebody that would make the argument, because I know somebody that'll come make the argument of, I would have killed Malcolm, right? And of this, but they're coming from the mindset of how the United States government deals with somebody that's a treasonous person. United States government, if somebody's tried for treason in the United States, the penalty is death, right? So I'm not justifying that with Malcolm X, because we love Malcolm X and we love what Malcolm X has done, but I'm trying to show how the question of Louis Farrakhan being involved in the murder of Malcolm X is a question that has been systematically put into our psyche, because we know in the media that they want to vilify this man. But now, if I'm a follower of Farrakhan, then and I come here and you know me, and you can't say that. Oh, if I'm a bearer witness of this man, if I say, well, this is what I adhere to, and then based on your interactions with me, you would say, oh no, well, what they present in the media is a total lie on this man. You know what I'm saying? If this man is an example of, if he says he's following this man's teachings and philosophy, right? But anyway,
right? No, that's very true.
But Minister Farrakhan himself has spoken. He had Mike Wallace 60-minute interviews that you could get up. You could look at them on YouTube. You could pull them up on Google. You can get on the internet right now. And
I remember the Mike Wallace.
And hear Minister Farrakhan's words himself explaining what was going on in the time period of Malcolm X and the time period of the assassination of Malcolm X, and his role in all of it, how he felt about all of it, the things that he said, how he goes into detail. So I wouldn't want to do a disservice to Minister Farrakhan and speak on something that you can go get straight from him himself.
All right, I'm getting you rushed out of here. Okay. I got to ask you about someone else slightly different than Minister Farrakhan.
No problem.
How did you become friends with Diddy, the Didster?
Okay, I met Diddy through Twitter.
I thought so.
Yep.
When we were all first getting into it.
I met Puff through Twitter. And another person that I say, that a lot of times, we as humans, we judgmental beings. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know people probably give you a lot.
Yeah, people. Every if that name comes up around me, then somebody's gonna have something
sideways.
Yeah. And not necessarily, even if they don't say nothing, I can still feel the energy of, well, I don't know, be careful, but I love Puff. And Puff is my brother, and Puff is a good dude. You know what I'm saying? And Puff is a genuine dude, and he's a friend of mine. And we all have done. You got to think about it. All of the mistakes that you made in your life, nobody have seen them but you and the people that was directly involved. You know what I'm saying? If we could look at all of the mistakes in your growth and maturity process and your evolutionary process up to now, then you don't know how people are going to look at you either. You know what I'm saying? So
we've watched Diddy unfold.
You watched him make his mistakes, hurt people with their gripes and grievances. You know what I'm saying? So now when people look at Puff, they look at him with all of these things that are shaped. Their perceptions of him that are shaped by things other than him. You know what I'm saying? Like partly himself. You know what I'm saying? Certain things, but then they marry that on with things, with ideas of him that are baseless. You know what I'm saying? And
hey, listen. Let me say one thing. Puff is an avid listener of this program, of Relate. Yeah. So
and Puff is ahead. Don't get look.
No, listen. That's how he. Yeah. It's funny when he came up here last time. He was like really talking to me, and he was like, "Yo, I listened to your show." Like he's very in touch with the underground stuff. And when I first met him, he was very skeptical. Like if he doesn't know you out of nowhere and you're kind of being challenging, he was kind of like, "Who is this guy?" Mm-hmm. Since then, he's been very warm and a good dude. So I feel you. And Diddy, just get me to DJ some stuff, man. Like I just need to, a little.
Shout out to Diddy, bad boy.
What up,
in
Puff?
The building. Always.
So listen, I'm gonna let you go because the next time you come back, we're gonna do something crazy. We're gonna light a fire.
We're gonna light a fire, yes sir.
Like, cause I'm preparing a collection of instrumentals that I know.
Okay.
You're just gonna let it run.
Okay.
And anytime you're about to stop, the next one it might last the whole show.
Hey, let's do it. We could do a whole show. Of just
craziness.
It could be, yeah.
Yo, Jay, listen, I'm proud of you.